Good morning, everybody. I hope I can get this recorded without too much noise from our neighbors. There's a shooting range over that way, and they've been plinking away all morning. It's another sign of the times. So you want an indication that we're in the end times? People are really getting into that. That sun is just starting to come through the trees. I have to stand here and hold my hand up to block it. All right, let me try this. Okay, that's better. I had it all set and then the sun popped up. Let me get my text up here. And we're ready to go. Okay, so that's a sign of the times along with everything else. We're supposed to be watching what's going on. We're supposed to see that, we are in the book of Revelation. Now, we're not in the tribulation, but the book of Revelation is not entirely about the tribulation. It's about the end times. It's the warnings that come up front, the blessing for reading it, but we're to be watchmen. And it's never, the book of Revelation has never really given you anything new. It's just restating things that are in the Old Testament. So, for those that are appointed to be watchmen, not everybody is, we have responsibilities. Now, the term watchman or sentinel comes from the Hebrew word sopah, if I'm pronouncing it right, which means to look out or about, to spy, to keep watch. And that's what we're doing. And we're seeing, God does not right now do outward signs, but he's doing all kinds of things around the world that are setting up for the events to happen in the tribulation. The harlot is setting up. God is getting the right players in place, as we talked about in the last video. It's about to get real, but don't worry, we'll be out of here. So I'm going to turn back to Ezekiel 33:1. This is before Ezekiel 38. We're not there yet. Before we get there, we have to be watching. Again, the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Son of man, speak to your people and tell them, suppose I bring a sword against a land, and the people of that land choose a man from among them, appointing him as their watchman. There goes the one car that was down at the end. I've got a little bit of video at the end. Get out here and do some camping. I keep showing you signs of what this stuff looks like so you can get out and enjoy it. Now the next shift is here. And you guys are still going way too fast on that road. Okay, so he's appointing a person as their watchman. And he sees the sword coming against the land and blows the ram horn, the shofar, to warn the people. And if anyone hears the sound of the horn but fails to heed the warning, and the sword comes and takes him away, his blood will be on his own head. I didn't bring my light out here because I didn't think I was going to need it. Things change real quickly. All right, can we move this one more time? We'll try this. I don't know if you can see now. See, it's hard to see in some of the videos I shoot inside. My hair is not black. There's reddish brown tinge to it. which is more of my natural color, the red part. But it looks black when I'm filming it inside. So, and when I get the beard colored in, it'll balance out. It doesn't look right, and I'm waiting to find out whether I got to shave this or not. You've seen my pictures that I've posted of what I can look like with my beard. I look like Robert Downey. I had my beard long before he did. So, I like the look. I've had it for years. I've colored my hair for years. So, I like the look personally, and it gets me work. Okay. Continuing on in verse 5. Since he heard the sound of the horn but failed to heed the warning, his blood will be on his own head. If he had heeded the warning, he would have saved his life. So the watchmen were supposed to be blowing horns if we see things getting ready to happen, which is what we're doing. That's why I'm telling you, prep and be ready. Pray and be ready. But if the watchman sees the sword coming and fails to blow the horn to warn the people, and the sword comes and takes away a life, then that one will be taken away in his iniquity. But I will hold the watchman accountable for his blood. So, if we are appointed as watchmen, and we don't tell you about it, we're in trouble. So that's why I do a daily video, to make sure that you guys know. I'm giving you the tools so that you can figure out for yourself what to do. The tools, the important ones, come from God. Some of them come from godly experience. Okay? 33:7. As for you, son of man, I have made you a watchman for the house of Israel. So hear the word from my mouth and give them the warning from me. Well, we're in the church age, so we're not for Israel necessarily. We are, of course, but our primary responsibility is to the church, to the Christians. I'm not picking any particular denomination out. As a whole, we're all Christians, and I'm giving the warning. We are getting close. Make sure that you're doing everything you can to get the word out, because we're running out of time. And the only reason we're here is to get the word out. Now, a shepherd, which we're also associated with, and the good shepherd, of course, is Jesus, watch out over the sheep. The wolves are always on the prowl. Or maybe they're leopards or whatever they are. They're out there to eat sheep. It's nature. You know, we eat meat, and it makes the PETA and other organizations mad that we eat meat, but animals eat meat every day. That's how they survive. And yet they want to protect the animals, yet if they stop meat from being eaten, the animals would die off. It's illogical. It's Satan dividing people. So, anyhow, so the shepherd's job is to protect the sheep, to watch. There's a requirement I ran across in my research. In New York, they have job openings for watchmen, for guards and that kind of thing, and they published what they put down as the requirement to be a watchman or a guard in New York City. Distinguishing features of the class. I'm reading from their document. This position, I think it's like 10 years old. This position involves responsibility for safeguarding personnel, buildings, property, and supplies. Work is performed 24 hours per day. I don't think that they work on a 24-hour shift. There's multiple shifts, but they work in tandem so that they can, one takes over after the other. They use time clocks. And if the place is big, I don't know if you saw the movie, God, what is it? George Papard. Is that who it is? I don't remember. In any case, there's a museum, and the guard has to go through, and he has to put his key in certain locks throughout the building to prove that he's actually making the rounds, and that he's not just sitting in his little room. Some places have that. Examples of work. Illustrative only. Checks windows, doors, entrances to the building to make certain they are secured. Make sure no one can get in. Now you hear the popping over there. That's our range. It was really big earlier today, so it's not as bad. Deter admittance of unauthorized personnel to the premises. Investigates unusual conditions or disturbances. There's all kinds of stuff that's unusual today. Prevents damage to property. Checks conditions of fire hazards. Punches the watchman's time clock at regular intervals. So you see they've got their own, as they travel around, they have to check in at their time clock. Checks elevator lights, including call lights, up-down indicator, floor lights, etc. Operates the elevator when required. Gives direction to public. We do that all the time. They might call us Jesus freaks, so sometimes we got to disguise it, but we give godly direction. Contacts police, fire, ambulance, and maintenance personnel when warranted. We pray to Jesus whenever we have a situation. Silences fire alarm when given written instructions. Identifies tripping and slipping hazards and takes corrective action. Again, these are the requirements of a guard. Checks disturbances, checks lobbies, building entrances, hallways for debris, and removes appropriately. And it goes on through some general requirements I'm not going to bother to read. So they have to have a certificate that says that they know how to do this, and this is some kind of a job class code C1136, so I'm not making this stuff up. So there are requirements for being a watchman, earthly watchman. There are requirements for being a watchman for God as well. And finally, I'm just going to read here. I'm in Ephesians 4:11. And it was he who gave some to be apostles, some to be prophets, some to be evangelists, and some to be pastors and teachers. Not everybody needs to be all these things. If you've got too many job descriptions, maybe you're overworking. But maybe God has you doing that, so always check in with the boss before you take on more work. And the purpose of it is to equip the saints for works of ministry and to build up the body of Christ until we reach unity in the faith and in the knowledge of the Son of God, as we mature the full measure of the stature of Christ. So we have all these people, including watchmen, to help build the body. That's why we're here. These people are teaching to some degree or another. The watchmen are making sure they're safe. And we're telling people we're getting close. Pay attention. Here comes our host. They ride these little four-wheel carts. There's only 2 of us in the camp right now. This is the weekend that will get crowded, but right now there's only 2 of us. And in 14, there will no longer be infants tossed about by the waves and carried around by every wind of teaching and by the clever cunning of men and their deceitful scheming, prompted by Satan, of course. He's talking to the Ephesians, and we consider the letter to the Ephesians them being baby Christians and being tossed around. Just, throw a small ball of some sort that floats in the waves and just watch it bounce around. It goes back and forth. It doesn't have a permanent home. You can't really help anybody because it's bounced around so much. You've got to learn to be straight. Have a good foundation. And 15, instead, speaking the truth in love, we will in all things grow up into Christ himself, who is the head, which is our ultimate goal. So as watchmen, our job is to make sure that people can learn and develop properly. we can include the whole world in our watchman notices. I guess I'm done. What are they doing? So they're going to cut up a tree. That's what it is. That small tree that I showed you in the last video, they're cutting it up. So I'm going to wrap it up here till we meet in the clouds. God bless. I'm out for a walk this morning. This is leading into the public area. There's of course a road, but I'm walking. They have pavilions here so you can have gatherings, birthday parties, whatever you want to do. Play area for kids. And it's got that rubberized mat on it, so won't hurt as much if you fall. If I could have gotten out here earlier, there'd be deer here. But since there's already a car, that would have chased any deer off. And the river is right through that opening there. Between here and the other bank you can see. Get out and enjoy it, folks.